Welcome to the Vicki Boutin Flower Emporium album kit. So we have incorporated a number of elements from both the Vicki Boutin kit itself, and then we've added some special touches with papers from the Vicki Boutin line, as well, the newest release from Vicki Boutin, as well as some of the newest paper from Bo Bunny, which coordinates beautifully with this. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the album before we start class, just so that you get a sense of how it's all going together. I want you to remember as we're creating together, because you're creating along with me. I'm starting with the blank album. I haven't pre-created this album and said, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're creating together so that you can understand a little bit of the design process as well. But you know, if something doesn't speak to you, if you don't like this flower, then that's okay. You've got more than enough paper in the kit to complete the entire project. So you can certainly use whichever papers or sides of a decorative paper, because they're all double-sided, that speaks to you. So this is the cover. It's the perfect size. It's got an opening here where a picture can slide in. I've adhered the top right now. When we build it, we will not adhere this top piece until the photo is inside. But let's look inside and see what it has. So the kit comes, and I do a walkthrough. We're going to do a walkthrough together of all the elements in the kit. But, and again, the pages can be in any order that you want them to be. So I started with this one using some of the laser cut elements. I really like the tab pages on this as we build and walk through. But part of the appeal of this album is you've got a full 6x8 decorative page where you can put, 2 or 3 smaller photos. Then, we've got some interactive elements. We've got a library pullout. We've got some flip pages. We've got a tuck where we can maybe put some memorabilia in there. We've got a half-page fold-out. We've built, it's a beautiful collection that it just coordinates so well together that we can mix and match all these papers really, really well. Again, another tab page with a half circle page here. Pocket page. Another flip out. The kit comes with, I believe, 4 page protectors. So we've got 3x4 and 4x6 elements here. A half page. Another full decorative page. I love the lines because I can journal right on my paper. Another 3x4 element. This is a fun addition to the kit. We're going to create a Z fold, a tri-fold page. That's going to give us lots of room for memorabilia. Another 3x4 page protector, half sheet, 2 3x4s and a 4x6, and a final pocket page. There's a full sheet of instructions included along with this link where I break down everything, and then there'll be full pictures of each page. I want you to feel free to pause wherever we are in the class and build your page along with me, leaving space if you need it, changing things around as you wish. We're going to do some inking. We're going to do some sanding. So we're going to build all of these things. Basic elements that your basic kit that you are going to want to have at the ready is a wet adhesive with a fine tip nozzle. I like Barely Art glue. You can use art glitter glue. You can use Nuvo. You can use your precision press, whatever you like. You're going to want a dry adhesive for some of the elements. So your tapes, your runners, things like that. Keeping in mind that a lot of the pages are open. They're not going in a page protector. So you want to make sure whatever you're using is a heavy duty adhesive that's really going to adhere. You're going to want scissors for fussy cutting. You're going to want your paper trimmer. If you like a X-Acto blade, then you can use your X-Acto knife and your ruler. We're going to do some inking. whatever your favorite inks are. I like the Distress series, but you can use whatever you have on hand. There's points where I use a corner rounder, but you can certainly hand cut that. Sanding block. I'm just looking at my table. What did I use? What have I got? And and my scoreboard. I did use a scoreboard, but if you have a scoring blade on your trimmer, that works as well. So gather your supplies, open up your kit, start looking at all of the elements. I would recommend that for the laser cut elements at the beginning, do not separate all your elements. I find that the some of the detail on these, it's very easy to damage them. So keep these ones with the finer elements in. As I get about halfway, I started separating them because it was just too hard to manage. But there's a lot of fine detail in these, like these ones. So unless you have a big space where you can lay them all out, I would keep them in the sheet and then we'll use them as we go. So once you gather all your supplies, I'll meet you back here at the craft table and we'll get started. So we're going to get started with page 1. And I really thought this was sweet to start our opening page of our album. We might put a half page in front of it, so it's a little bit of surprise when people open it, but we're going to work through all the pages and then we'll interleaf them. And again, it's really up to you how you want to assemble your pages at the end. So I wanted to talk a little bit about these reinforcements. They are self-adhesive, and they just pop off. And I would just, for an extra measure, I would just put a little bit of glue right around the edge. Then you're just going to line it up, drop it down, and that's going to hold that in place for you. So feel free, as part of your prep, to get all your pages organized that way. And it's up to you whether you want them to be on top of papers that you're building or under papers that you're building, but it just gives you that extra measure of security that they're not going to rip out of the D-ring once your album is complete. So we've started with that. There we go. You can see it's already starting to build a little dimension. So the next piece of paper that I want you to find from your kit is part of the Bow Bunny series. So the number on it is 34032658. It's pretty easy to find. It's this beautiful citrus green floral on one side and the dot on the other. First thing I want you to do, though, is trim that excess away and hang on to it, because I think we're going to be able to build it into our elements going forward. So once you've done that, I want you to take your trimmer and I want you to cut a square that is 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. Let me just double check my measurements on that. Yeah, 4 3/4 wide and 3 3/4 tall. And that's going to be our main frame. And then from your die cut element sheet, your laser cut element sheet, there's this cute little scalloped frame. You can separate all your die cut elements and have them in an envelope or a folder. I find that it's easier to separate them from the pages when you've got more of your elements. As you get down to it, you may want to separate them, but I just find it just prevents any of them from getting damaged. So you can see how easy these pop out. And that is going to go right there. And then you're going to have a little, almost like a file folder identifier. And your kit will have a different color than mine. Mine is orange. And that's going to go right there. We're just going to assemble all the pieces, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to put it together. Then, look at this beautiful little flower shop. I thought that it would be fun to make a little display along the side of the flower shop. So we've got little topiaries. So I'm going to pop out a topiary. And I'm going to take some of these little buckets. Now the really cool part about these buckets, I think I'm going to get 2 because typically you want to group your elements in 3s. I'm just going to play with this. I think I'm going to put that one behind and these in front. Yeah, like that. Now, these laser cut elements, here's the flowers for them. And I think one of the really clever things, sorry if I'm doing that way too far away and you can't see that, is if you see the bottom stem, these just slide right in. So you can choose which elements. I think I'm going to do the pink and the blue, and I'm going to save the tulips for later. So again, it just slides right in there. And I may move the topiary. Maybe the topiary belongs by the door. And as I go forward, I'll decide where that's going to go. And then maybe the 2 pots there. Put the little bit smaller one in the foreground. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to enhance your cardstock. So we were talking about sanding or inking your cardstock. Double-sided cardstock has a white core, which is a lot of fun when you take a sanding block and you just rough up your edges. So I'm just kind of going at a 45-degree angle to my paper, and you can see I'm exposing that white core. And it's okay, it's meant to be rustic. What it does is as that is opened, it's going to absorb the ink better for inking. So I'm going to just clean that off. I'm using a Distress ink in Forest Moss. You could pick whichever color you wanted to tie into the color palette of the album. But I just thought because we've got lots of pinks and blues and things going on that I wanted a green. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of my ink. I'm going to find a piece of scrap paper to rub this off on. Just grab a piece of scrap here. Normally I would have a little 8.5 by 11 sheet of just lightweight cardstock, just so that you're not putting a full brush of ink on your cardstock. That way you're going to prevent any serious lines. You're going to start from the outside and you're just going to go in a bit of a clockwise motion. You can see this brush is leaving a few marks. So I probably should have rubbed it out a little bit more, but it is creating that edge for us. And now there it is inked. I want you to, excuse me. There it is uninked. It's very nice, very bright. This just creates a little more dimension. And I'm going to have it hang right over the edge there. Now, because I'm not putting any photos in right away, I'm going to attach the elements down, but I'm going to leave the top open so that it makes it easier for me to slide in my photo once I have it and it's ready. So let's get these elements down and then we can move on to the next page. All right, so let's review page 1. I've got all my elements adhered now. So I went back to the laser cut element sheet and I found these beautiful little deep green pieces of foliage, which I tucked behind the mat just a little bit. And I just thought it grounded everything together. So you've got your polka dot mat, you've got your frame, that I've left open so I can slide my photo in underneath. I've added a little sign here. There are a number of different words you could have used. I could have used open. I thought about open, and I just thought because I'm gonna put some pictures of a good friend in here, I thought today was kind of a nicer option. So those are just here, and the little pink element is on this sheet that creates your background. So there's one for each of those there. I decided I wanted 2 topiaries, one on either side of the window, and then I created my buckets. So I wanted to show you a nice little trick for the buckets. I've also finished my tag. I'm not going to adhere it right now because I want to either write something on it or add some sort of script rub on, and then I think I'm going to pop it up just to give it a little more dimension. So when you're working with the little pots and the flowers, here, let's just find, these are really small ones. I'm going to just pop out my pot, and then I'm just going to tuck my flowers inside. Ooh, those don't fit. We'll go to a small one. There, and I'm just going to tuck that in. Now, the problem is it's a little bit hard to glue down if you don't do the prep work first. So I just put a dab here. Come on. There we go. And then I hold it flat. So it's still got some dimension to it because you've got the 2 layers of the cardstock that is printed on it, but I just find it's easier to glue it down, and that's what I did prior to gluing it on my page. So that's page 1. Although it may not end up being page 1 when we put the whole book together, but we're going to start with this page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this away. Again, if you are going to do that on foam dots, wait until we've done the other side, and we're going to flip it over and we're going to continue. So here we are. Here's page 2. I've dug into my stash and I've actually added more things to the kit so that we can build some clusters. So this page is about building an embellishment cluster, which I know a lot of people struggle with. So the paper that you're going to find in your kit it looks like this. It is Starters Paper 4. And it's a great piece. It's, it's got some great cutout options here, but we're actually, for this page, we're going to use the other side, which is a big, bold graphic. And I've picked it because we've got some smaller elements here. So we need a bigger graphic for some punch, but all the colors tied together. So first thing you're going to do is cut off your strip. You're going to put that aside, and then I would cut on this side of the paper. So just, stay on your left-hand side because you want to keep these big elements that we can fussy cut and add and layer in afterwards. So you're going to cut a strip. I believe it is 4.5 by 7, and I will just check my measurements. Yep, 4.5 by 7. Now, once you've cut that, we're actually going to make it a little bit smaller. We're going to tear the bottom of this piece. So to tear, I'm just going to take about a finger width here, and I'm just going to pull the paper towards me. But as I am pulling, I'm kind of rolling my hand, and that's going to create a bit more dimension. Now, if that's not, your jam, that's not what you like to do, you can absolutely take a straight edge ruler. I would take a metal edge ruler and hold it and give it a rip. And when you pull the paper towards you, that is going to leave that white core. If you didn't want to see the white core, but just wanted the texture, I would flip the paper over and tear it the other way. But I want to see it. I want to create that texture on the page. You can see it on there now. This page is already, I love how they've, as they've designed this page, that it almost looks like they've created it for you. You've got like a torn paper edge, and you've got a bit of a shadow here, and then what looks like a, laser die cut element. I've added my reinforcements. I'm going to add a little bit of ink. I'm probably going to do a bit of sanding too. So if that's, part of the look that you would like, Just ignore this washi tape. We're going to come back to that in a little bit because I've just added that to your kit for some fun extras. And I'm just going to take my edge down just a hair. Just want to rough it up. I just want to expose some of that white core. And then I'm going to load my brush. I did manage to go find a piece to wipe off. And all I'm doing again, what happens when you expose that paper, it's more absorbent. And so it really just picks up the ink that much nicer. And I work on a self-healing cutting mat. Now you could make this a little darker. You can leave it white. It's really just personal preference, but you can see how quickly that torn edge picks up the ink for you. All right, so other elements you're going to be looking for on this page. There is a little bulldog clip in your ephemera. I've taken this one out of the laser cut elements because it's just a little bit smaller. So I'm going to save that big one for another page. I'm going to lay my mat in here. I'm not going to mat anything because, again, I haven't decided what photos are going to go on this, but I'm going to dry fit my page. The nice part about this is you've got these grid lines, so you know everything's going to be nice and straight. And I'm going to adhere that down, and then I'm going to build my cluster on the corner. So I'm just going to, instead of eyeballing, I'm going to leave myself a little guideline there so I know where that's going to go. And again, you can use your dry adhesive or your wet adhesive for this. I like wet adhesive just because it gives me the opportunity that if I mess it up, I have another opportunity to stick it down. If I put it here, centered, excuse the cat hair, my cat was just visiting. There, so we've got that down. You could add a white mat to this if you wanted to create a little more dimension. I think I will make that decision once I've picked the photos that are going to go on. Now my little clip that looks like it's holding it on the paper. And it's okay if it goes off the page a little bit, because the nice part is the die cut elements are colored. You could cut it off if you wanted. So now we're going to build our cluster. So I took some of these pieces of ephemera are actually old pieces from my stash from the 49 and Market mystery box. So you're going to have a whole assortment from the ticket packages. And I just thought it was great because all the colors work together. They're all part of this. So again, because I have not decided what my photos are going to be, I'm not going to cover this edge. So all my adhesive is going to go in this corner. So I'm going to start, this is going to be my main element. And I kind of just play and dry fit and look at what I want here. You really want to just look and see if there's words that you want showing. Yeah, I'm going to add a little heart here. Maybe I'll tuck that heart in behind. Yeah, I like that. And then these little stars, they're hard to see, are from your laser cut half sheet. So I took a moment and I punched all of these out. You can go find that page in your kit. And now I'm going to repurpose them and use them as ephemera on my cluster. So when you're working on your cluster, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to pull these pieces away. It may not look like this when I'm completely done. I wanted it to be grounded to this last, this little eyelet here. So that was kind of my starting point for it. And I'm going to start with the furthest piece on the back. Let's stick that down. And again, I want to make sure that I've left this mat available. So instead of, you can guess where your glue is going to go, or you can put your glue on here and not have to worry that maybe you've measured wrong and now you have glue on your mat. Maybe put just a hair here just to hold it down. And again, you can go back in and touch up your adhesive after. This one, I know if I do about half, I'm okay. Hold that down. Yeah, I'm liking how that's coming together and it's pulling all of these colors together. This piece of paper is just stunning because it has all the colors. Oh, look at this. Turn your ephemera over. This is best ever. These are the moments to always remember. So I like that side a whole lot more. So that's going to go right here. Where am I going to put that? Maybe right there. Yeah, I'm going to have a look a little bit closer at that ephemera. I didn't know that was there. Now I'm going to tuck the heart behind. And that's the beauty of a liquid glue, is I can go back in and I can change my mind. Move it over here. Yeah, I like that. Go back in where my glue was, I think. And this beautiful little butterfly is going to hang out by best ever. There we go. And on this side, I'm going to put one of my stars. There. So we've built a beautiful little embellishment cluster there. We've still got lots of room to put a photograph, a nice little quote maybe here. We'll just see how it evolves. It's a process and it's fluid. And the beauty of it is that you can pick whatever you want. You know, maybe there's an element that speaks to you more than me, and maybe there's a color that you prefer that you want to highlight, but you can see that it just all builds together because we're using coordinated sets. So we're going to move on to, I think we're going to do a half page next. Let's try that. Okay, you can tell we're getting into the project now because my table is getting messier. I'd like you to find this piece in your kit. It is, I just took the strip right off it. It is Starter's Paper 2. And it's this great paper, old wallpaper type collage with the blue on the other side. And we are going to replicate this page. I just think this is so interesting and I think we can have a lot of fun with it. So we are going to replicate that right now. So I've measured it. It's just over 5 inches. So I am going to cut myself just a hair past 5 inches. If you want, you can cut it at 6 so it's even. But I'm going to cut it just past 5. I can do about 5 1/8. And you can decide which side speaks to you more and what you want to create from that. Now, just before I cut it, I'm going to make sure that I measured properly, which I did. And I'm going to cut that away. Now, the reason that I didn't cut it in half, as you can see, because I haven't hit the halfway mark, is that those papers would then be spilling over the side of the paper. So I've measured to here because now you can see I'm still going to get that beautiful shading and cut element out of the collage. So that's done. Let's put that aside. And all you're going to do now is just take this and use it as a template. So decide where you want to center it. Take a pencil. Trace around. And you can see by cutting it 5 1/8, I've just hit the edge here. So I'm gonna quickly fussy cut this. And again, doing it in pencil, I can always take a white eraser and get rid of it later if I haven't followed the lines exactly. When I'm cutting, I tend not to turn my hand. I turn my paper and I work from the hinge of my scissor, which keeps things fairly smooth. Because I know sometimes the whole idea of fussy cutting or hand cutting a page can be very, very intimidating. All right, let's check my work here. Not too bad. Now, while I've got that, I'm just taking a basic office 1/4" hole punch, matching it up, punching through. There. So we've created a second circular page, and you can see now I'm getting the benefit of that. And I've got a really nice texture on the other side. I'm going to sand and ink this one specifically, and I'm going to add my reinforcements, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to build our page. So we've cut our half round. I've assembled my other elements. We're going to go through them one at a time. I'm just going to move all this extra stuff out of the way so you can see better. And I am just going to rough this up a little, just so that it exposes that core for me. I've also added a few reinforcements. This paper is pretty strong and I'm not too worried, but it is nice to just have the option of doing that. I'm going to grab a different ink here. Grabbing weathered wood distress oxide. And again, the color you choose is really up to you. I'm just going to load that a bit. Pull it off of my scrap. I tend to like distress oxides because I get a bit better blend off of them. And some people like really juicy ink pads because they really like that very, very defined edge. But all I'm doing is I just want to take a bit off the edge of that color. Should probably do the other side while it's flat. And I'm going with distress with my weathered wood again. There we go. Nice. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to show you other elements. In your ephemera pack, you have this cute little library pocket. So you need to go find that. And again, your color is going to be different than mine because they're all mixed up. It's a bit of a little surprise bag. So you will have one of those, and then you'll have a matching library card in a color. And that's going to go in here as we build it. Then I took the leftover from what we cut away from that mat for our title page, and I cut myself a 1.5 inch strip for my pull element from my laser cuts. Don't worry about how long it is. You're going to be able to play and decide how long you want it. And then you're going to go and you're going to find from your laser cut element sheet this beautiful floral. So let's start building. I am going to find my bone folder. You don't need to use your bone folder if you don't have one. You can use the edge of a scissor. Mine, of course, is missing because I'm looking for it. So this is something I use when I do rub-ons. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend these edges over. And I just want to just sharpen that fold line. That's all I really want to do. And now that I've done that and I'm looking at it, see, that's going to create our nice little pocket there, right? I may just give this a little bit of and I'm not even going to ink it. I just want to expose a little bit of that. Yeah, I think that's where I want that. But now that I've done that one, I need to do a little on this one too. And we're just kind of playing with that whole vintage theme. Now, the beauty of this piece here, and the reason that I picked it for this page, is you could write a little story on it, you know, an anecdote. You could put a quote on it, or you could actually put pictures on it, because we're going to make it an interactive element. So we've got our pull laser cut element, and we've got our 1.5 inch tag, and I've got a corner rounder. So I'm going to just hit my 2 edges here. Whichever one you have is great. And you're going to see now that that kind of frames that up. If you wanted to, you could cut it a bit smaller and you could actually follow the curve. That's really up to you. It's really a preference. I'm going to hit this with a bit of my forest moss. It's funny, different brushes have different bristles. This one I'm going to go in, I'm going to even darken it up a little bit. There we go. All right, so that's ready. We're going to glue our tag down. And if you wanted, you could even have this. Oh, I might do that. That's kind of fun. Just going to create as we go here. Make sure I didn't put any glue there. I'll just wipe that away. There. I kind of like it there. So let's work with that. Now, I think I'm going to line that up there. Maybe do it a little bit more. Yeah, right about there. So the reason I left myself a nice big tab is I could play with where I wanted this to be adhered, right? And so that's totally up to you. But I kind of like the idea of it poking out a bit more than less. So I'll line it up right about there. And maybe I'll even move it up a bit higher. That's why I use liquid glue. But there's no right or wrong. You just only get one shot if you're using a tape adhesive. And I'm going to center that because I'm not happy with where that is right now. There, I think I'm happier now. Yeah, I'm good. Good there. Put that down. If you've got a brayer, and when I'm doing construction, sometimes I'll even bring my brayer into it. The hair that just fell off my head. And now, to finish this, I'm going to just angle this so I can still see my word. So 1, 2, 3. These 3 flowers, I'm going to put glue on those. I put my thumb on the other one so I don't mess up and forget. And I'm going to do these bottom leaves. I'm just going to place that there. Make sure that it's all going to fit properly where I want it. I need to move that in. Now I'm going to pull that right off so I can work with it. There we go. Now, if I didn't want that to cover that, I can just clip this one little leaf away, which I think I'm going to do. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. There. So that element is built. And now it's going to create my sliding interactive part of my page. I'm going to find my dry adhesive now to build the rest of my pocket. Oop. Let's pull that. And a little extra there. don't have to have a ton of adhesive. There's way more adhesive. When you use dry adhesive, a little goes a long way. It's just easy to cut the whole strip. I'm going to lift this. Oops. Make sure it's burnished down so it comes up easily for you. I'm going to fold the bottom in first. And now I've left this here so I can kind of see where I want it to go. And then I'm going to move it away. I'm just going to push that down. And then this is going to just slide right in there for me. There, that's kind of fun. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit extra here. So in your kit, attached to some acetate is some 49 and Market floral postage stamps. I don't remember exactly what the package is called. It's an older series. It's from Spectrum Gardenia, and it's postage stamp washi tape. So I have dug into the stash and found some for you. So I'm going to just cut one of these away, and I'm going to build a bit of a cluster on here. Maybe I want it here. Yeah, I'm liking that. Beauty of washi tape is it just takes on the properties of whatever you're working with. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. And let's see what we've got in our die cut elements that we can add to it, just to give it a little more dimension. And again, pick whatever speaks to you. So we've got some flowers. Maybe I want a little bit of greenery. Or maybe this cute little orange butterfly will work. I'm just going to attach it. Yes, I'm going to just attach it to the edge of this postage stamp. There, that's a quick and easy one. And again, if you want more dimension, these beautiful Chantilly pearls, it's part of your kit, could enhance the centers of your album. I'm going to go in and I'm going to play with that stuff at the end. I just want to build all my basic elements, see what I've got left over that I can build into it, and then work from there. Now, before I go to build the other page, I'm actually going to pull my library card out and then flip it over. To finish the other half circle side, I want you to go and find your starters paper 9. Again, cut off your strip, save your strip for later. We are going to work with this deep green graph paper title element journaling card. And I picked it because we've got just some lines on the other side, so that's pretty easy to work with. We can put another picture on there, or we can cover it with a piece of journaling cardstock. So you're going to take that. Now, what we're going to do with it is I actually want it to cover that whole page, but you can see where we're going to hit and we're going to have it go over. So on the side with the pennant, I'm going to hit it with my corner rounder, and you can see now it blends into the page. So I'm going to flip this around upside down just for a moment. Just going to double check a measurement here. Yep, that's what I want. I am going to take my score pal. You can use your trimmer with a scoring blade, and you can decide how far in you want to go. I am going to go a 1/2 inch in. Once again, I'm just going to double check that that's going to clear. Yep, it's going to clear my hole. So I'm going to go 1/2 inch, and I'm going to go on the front side, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to do it again on the back side. That just eases those fibers. We're just giving it a little extra encouragement to want to be able to score properly. You're going to see that's going to fold up really nicely and give us that that interactive element that we want. So I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna line that up for myself. Again, actually, it works out perfectly. It's very easy to center in between the two. I'm going to use my liquid glue. You could use a dry adhesive for this. Glue's been sitting under the light too long. I'm guessing where the holes are. If you get glue where the holes are, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you catch your edges so that they don't lift after. Now I'm going to just figure out where that needs to go. And I'm going to push that down. Whoop. Slid a little. And you're wondering to yourself, hey, how am I going to attach that to my album? Well, I'm going to flip that over and I'm going to repunch the holes. Now we've also reinforced it from this side with the extra piece, and you can see that it is going to create that. I'm going to let that dry a little bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to sharpen that edge. And now you've got space to put pictures in here, or some sort of sayings, some photos in here, and something on this side. I'm going to look at what do I have in my laser cut ephemera to kind of play with here. Oh, maybe this is a good spot for a little flower pot. So I'm going to take my little flower pot. Oh, I've got one cut right here. Again, it's really up to you what ephemera you use. I find because this is thicker, I'm going to put a pretty significant bead on here, and I'm just going to hold that down. I could build a cluster if that's what I wanted. I'm going to save all my elements, and then once the whole album is built, I'm going to go back in and probably add some pieces. Once I start adding the photos and it really starts to develop its own personality. So this is the front side of your card with our little library card pull tab. So we've got a little interactive element there. We've got a little interactive element there. I'm going to add one more thing. I want you to go and I want you to find, there is in your ephemera package, you've got your reinforcements and pull tab, and then you've got these funky little bits, and they are adhesive. So I want you to just pull that out, and we are going to line that up on the center. Make sure. Pop that down and then fold it over. There we go. And that's going to help us to lift our page as well. I could have pulled it back a little. Just going to rush it up a little. Ink it up. And then you have other elements in here. You could number tabs and carry them down, or you could have just a blank tab, which is what I'm going to use. And I'm going to glue that on. In the center. Woo! A little bit of slide from the liquid glue. And I'm going to find another little heart, I think, and I'm going to put that. Yeah, I like that. To just pull all my pieces together. There we go. We've created our first half circle. So I'm going to put that with our other page, and we're going to move on. as we're creating this album together, different ideas are kind of popping into my head as we go. So it's a bit of a journey as we create this together. So this is one of the elements in your kit. It's a little kind of almost like a little bit of a border page. So initially I had decided I wanted this to be the very first page, but now I think it's kind of nice to have that little extra bit so that when you open this, you get to see the whole scene, and it's just, it's a bit of a tease, a little bit of a, a sneak peek. And so I've taken the snapshots out of our laser cut elements. Be careful with these and make sure that you are gluing your ends because they are really, really delicate. And then I just took a star and used that for snapshots. Then the other side, at the moment, I'm going to leave it blank. You could certainly put, where is it now? This little guy here. Maybe we'll just leave that there as a placeholder because I think that might be fun. So just to catch us up, we've got our first full page, second. Now we've got our circle page with our tab and our pull tab for our interactive element. We've got a nice little open flap, and here we are at our next full page. As we build this album together, I'm going to mix up some of the smaller pages and elements so that, you're not flipping through all small elements. So there'll be a large page and then some smaller ones. But again, you can arrange these pages however you like. So for this page, I've gone into the other pages in your kit, which are some Bow Bunny pages. And this is their new colorful storyline. And so I've got paper ending 2646 and 2648. Beautiful script. I just loved how these colors worked together with it. So again, cut your edge off because we are going to go back and use those. We've got some really fun edges on those. For this page, I've taken the ledger so that it carries the green across. And then I'm going to show you which pieces I took out of here. Oops, let's turn this the right way. So you can see I took the bottom right corner out of the page. I liked the scale of that. And then I looked at what other element I wanted to add. And again, you can choose to build these however you like, but I took this element right here. I've saved this for later. I'm going to show you a great trick on fussy cutting because I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. So I'm just going to take this little flower right here because some people will say, well, I fussy cut, but it's not, it doesn't look, as clean, or, it's not quite as, it's too sharp an edge. So what I want you to do, and take this, I'm going to just hold my hand steady. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed the element in. And I'm only going to cut to the edge, and now I'm going to come back and I'm going to feed the element in. And what that does is it just creates a little bit of texture on the edge. And that way, it doesn't look like, the old bowl haircut. So you can see you're getting a nicer finished edge to that as you work around the flower. If you're comfortable with an X-Acto knife, you can certainly get the same effect with an X-Acto knife. Oh, and you know what? That may go right there. I kind of like that too. So have a look at your paper. Part of the journey of this album is looking at your paper and deciding, what parts of the page speak to you, or, how you'd like to lay it out. So then I took the other piece with the text on it, and I cut it, I believe, and this will all be in the instructions after, 5 by 6. And that's going to just slide in here. We're going to build it. So let's build this page together. This is a nice quick one. I'm going to leave the flowers open. so that we can tuck things in behind. So I'm going to start with this. Again, this is, you know, you could certainly use dry adhesive, tape runner. I've been a big Bo Bunny fan for a very long time. I just love their patterns, and it works so well with this Vicki Boutin line that I couldn't believe it. I was just so excited. It was like the best of all my worlds. So we're gonna just pop that there. Again, these very graphic designs make it really easy to line up your elements too. So we're just going to put that there. I may even run over it a little bit with the brayer just to make sure there's a really nice bond on that. So now I'm going to put my glue on the bottom. Just going to line it up with my edges. Now I'm going to see where else I want to put it. So I'm actually going to run a line right at the base of this mat. There we go. So that's down. Now I'm going to look at this. How do I want this to go? I may, you know, as we're creating together, I may just take 2 of the flowers out of this. I'm going to save this other one for later, see if it has a home somewhere. And I like the idea of putting that on a foam square to give me a little more dimension, I think. And then I may move this little guy. No, I still kind of like him there. So let's put these down with foam squares. And I'm just going to watch where, yeah, I'm going to build that so it covers the edge of that mat. There we go. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that. And I'm just going to line that up in the corner. So that page is done. That was a nice quick one. You kind of have to, you know, split the difference sometimes. So now I'm going to flip this one over. And I've already decided with this one. So this is just a white ledger. And what I've done is I've taken the journaling card page, which is missing at the moment, so I can't tell you. There it is. So it is this element right here, Starters Paper 9. I've cut out the square. We're going to go back and use some of the other journaling cards after, but I did fussy cut the actual file folder. And what I did to just round that edge is I actually used a corner rounder. So I've used dry tape on this one because we're creating a bit of an interactive element to it. And I'm just going to line it up to the corner. Another quick and easy page here. Push it down. But then to add a little bit of interest, I'm going back to the postage washi tape flowers. And I'm going to line them up. Let them come down a little bit into, I'm going to line them up on that edge. I'm just going to slide that right up. And then I'm just going to cut away my excess. So look at that. What was that? 5 minutes? And we created 2 awesome looking pages. And again, you know, this is a great opportunity to mat, add something, tuck in some special memorabilia for whoever you're creating the album for. So we're going to flip that over. We're going to go to a bit more of an interactive element now. And we're going to go to one of the smaller half fold cards. So what they look like in your kit is this. It's a little fold out card. It's been pre-done. I haven't done my reinforcements on those. Make sure you get all your reinforcements on so that your album has the staying power that you want. We have gone back to, so this is where we're going to start bringing our little offcut strips in. So we've gone back to the paper collage page, and that's going to be my front. And that is, I believe, 4 by 6 1/4. Now you could cut it 4 by 6. The page has been designed to be a little bit bigger so that a 4 by 6 will fit on here, but you could certainly put a couple of photos on here. So we're just going to attach this down. This is our front cover. I'm just going to move these other elements over that are the rest of this page. We're going to get this stuck down. Make sure you get your corners if you're using a liquid glue, because I find that's the first place they lift. And I'm going to put this right up against my edge. Make sure that's adhered down well. And now I'm going to take this beautiful, looks like a cosmos flower. If you have a line from your trimmer, you can just use a bone folder. This is a rub-on applicator that will take that edge off. I may just scuff it a little bit. Yeah, like that. There we go. Bring a little more dimension to the page. And now I'm going to run a bead of glue right along my edge. And for good measure, I'll make that 2. And I'm going to drop that. I'm going to line it right up. No measuring necessary. You could hang it off too if you wanted. And then I'm just going to cut away the excess. So here's my front page. Now I'm going to open it up. I've gone to the green bow bunny, the one with the floral and the dot. That's going to be my inside page. Again, your dimensions will all be in your directions. And I would suggest that if you're doing this as a follow along, print out your instructions and have them accessible. And then as I'm showing you what paper, it just makes it easier to cut, or you can pre-cut them, which will make things a lot faster. So this one, I want to use my little offcut again, and I'm going to just put a band right across about 1/3 of the way up. I'm going to use it as a, that we can slide things in. So I'm actually going to use my dry adhesive on this one, which I thought I'd lost, but there it is. And I'm just going to cut a couple of little pieces. I don't need very much here. And then have a look at what, do you like that idea? Do you want this? I'm going to go a little bit bolder and graphic. Just going to put that down. There's a creative opportunity. Put your adhesive on the right side. There we go. Glue that down. And I'm kind of just guesstimating. I'm coming in a little bit from the fold line so it doesn't create too much bulk. And then I can just match that up on this side. There we go. Peel that off. And cut away your excess again. I like that the companies are starting to do more where you're getting, you have the ability to use more of the offcuts and things like that, so there's not as much waste. Then I went darker on the inside. And so this is one of the Staples papers. It is Staples paper number 2. And so Staples paper number 2, instead of just doing a coordinated cardstock, 49 and Market has done, a bit of a design. So it's it's a coordinating decorative paper that, you know, in the past we probably would have, you know, searched for, or a company would have released a matching decorative, right, or a matching cardstock. So this is kind of nice because you're getting a little bit more texture to this. So I'm going to just take the edge off that. I'm going to measure this for myself. I think I'm going to match it to that one. So this is 3 3/4, but I think I can go 4 here. I'm going to stay with 3 3/4 and 5 3/4. I'll just give that a quick little chop. And I will add some texture to the bottom. And you can decide which side you want to use, because what I've done here is I have taken one of the foliage borders, but now that I'm looking at that, I think I can flip it around. Yeah, I'm liking that better. So we'll just hit that with the sanding block, just lightly. There we go. Changing on the fly. The tones in the greens were just a little off for me. So I will use the other side in a page where I'm not facing with the green, so they're not competing for each other. I'll line that up for myself. Get it down. Get it with the brayer. Nice. Now, these are part of the laser cut elements sheets, and they're so interesting. So I only want to use part of this though. So I'm getting that stitching effect. So I'm just going to give it a snip right at the end of that design. And then I am going to just glue it on the edge again. So I'm just right where the stitching accent is. So again, depending on what I want to put there, I have the ability to tuck, which is nice. All the hard work's done for us as opposed to trying to build, you know, a bunch of clusters and things like that. So that's a fun little flip out. That's our next set of pages. It's going to go there. You can choose whichever decorative. You know, some of these back pages, what I will do is I will wait until the project's done, and then I look at what scraps I've got left, and then I'll incorporate it. I'm thinking, now that we're talking about that this one will be a great one to incorporate here. So let's see what I've got. Yeah, absolutely. But do I want it to be there? I think so. This is a bit different class for me because I am designing on the fly. I truly am. And the reason for that is that typically when we do a project, we have, you know, we're doing the designing on the fly, we've already designed the project. So then I have to recreate the project during the class. And so by designing this on the fly, I can actually just create it once. So when I edit it to put it back together, it's actually going to be a little bit backwards for me because I'm going to do the walkthrough at the end. So I'm cutting this at 6 1/8. But we're going through the process together, which is fun. I'm going to tear this. So again, I'm going to roll it. Just what that does is that takes the hard edge off the graphic design. So I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah. Yep. All right, let's get this one down. We're moving along. We're probably about halfway done. And again, you know, if this paper doesn't really hold appeal to you, it's not your favorite, then take advantage of all the papers in your kits and work through and get something else down. I'm liking that. What I'm going to do to finish that one is I'm now going to take this tag and I am going to put a brad through it. So in your kit are these cute little flower brads, which I've had for a very long time. Yeah, I think I'm liking that. So again, you could have it here, you could have it here. I'm not going to, if I thought of it before, you could certainly punch a hole and feed it through this paper before you stuck it down. I didn't think that far ahead, so I am just going to use it as an accent. Make sure that the little wings are on that part, and then I'm going to stick it down. But where do I want it? There. Yeah. And again, I'm going to leave the flap open so that I can tuck something in there. There we go. All right, and just like that, we have 2 more pages done. So as I'm continuing to work through the pages, I'm now leaving my completed pages beside me. You don't have to do that, but I'm doing it so that I can see a continuity between the 2 pages, which is important as you're building an album, because you don't want, you know, a left side that's really bold and in your face and then something very, very soft on the other side. So for this page, it's one of the full pages that's in your kit. I love it. It looks like it's been done in a mixed media with a gel plate, maybe some distress inks. That's kind of the feeling I get from it. This is off of your journaling card page paper, and these 2 echinacea cone flowers are from your laser cut element sheet. So this is another quick project. We're just going to attach this one down. To put it in the top left-hand corner, but using this beautiful element underneath as an accent. So, and then I'm going to add this, but now I'm going to work with my die cut and I'm going to layer it. So I'm going to just pull this up and I'm going to see where I can bring my leaf over. There we go. And what that does is it just creates a bit more dimension on your page as you're working. There we go. Now let's have a peek at this. Where do I want that? I think I'm going to match them up, like they're maybe coming off the same stalk. Now I did put some glue there. I think I would leave this open for yourself if you're not sure what you're going to put there. Just make sure that it sticks down well for yourself. And I'll fix that later. I'll add that later, because if I'm going to put a photo there, maybe the flower is going to overlay that. And then this reminds me almost of a piece of like brown wrapping paper. You know, that butcher years ago when we used to buy meat from the butcher and it was wrapped and there was kind of this paper tape. That was part of that. So I'm liking all of that. Let's see what else we got going on here. I like this. This is Here's the Story. And what I've done is all my ephemera is just sitting here. So I'm just kind of pulling and creating as I go, right? Which is kind of fun because I don't know exactly what it's going to look like after. I like that word, documented. Yeah, here's the story. Documented. And I'm going to pull one more element. I don't like that blue. So I'm going to go to my ephemera and see what we've got. That would be fun. I think a little butterfly. There we go. All right. So we're going to build from the back. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to use this line as my guide. I'm going to let that stick up again for now until I actually get a photo in there, and then I can tack it down. Just tuck underneath. Now our little butterfly is going to finish this little cluster for us here. All right, and we're moving right along. So let's flip this page over. And now we do have a big bold graphic, kind of an indigo feel. So I've gone back to my starters, my green starters paper. And in this case, I do like the green script and how the contrast of the indigo blue with the green strip. I have taken one of my off strips. It's from Starters 2. And that's going to pull the whole thing together for me, because I've got the blue and I've got my green here. So now I'm just going to kind of play, and I'm going to work off this so I still get the advantage of all of this. And I'm going to add a fun little stationary element to it. I've cut this at a 4x6. Again, you can cut it a little bit bigger. I like using the 6-inch dimension, the 4x6, because you get more papers out of your page. You're going to get, your 6 elements out of it. And typically we always have, especially if we're using photos, there's always a little bit we can trim off our edges. So I'm just going to give this a quick rough up. When I work on projects like this, I also like to think about, who the recipient is. Maybe in your case, who you're doing the book for. I'm not really sure who I'm doing it for yet, but I was out for dinner last night and learned that a dear friend of mine is celebrating a milestone birthday coming up. And so I think this may be a lovely surprise for her. And we'll either put in photos of her family, have everybody contribute and make it a really fun memory book celebrating all the people that she holds dear. Or I may go back. We've been friends a really, really long time. And I may go back, and I think I'm going to do that. I may go back through our history of photographs and put something together for her. I think that would just tickle her pink. She likes pink. So in this case, again, I've kind of kept it like a little bit like a belly band. So my adhesive is here and my adhesive is here. I'm not worrying about the fact that I've cut through this paper, because if I can find my hole punch, I'm just going to create a new hole. And again, I'm not doing my reinforcements right now. Make sure you put all your reinforcements on so that everything is working the way you want. There we go. So now I think it's going to be fun. Let's do one of our shape pages. So we're going to take our, we've got the pink and the green. And again, I could have the pink facing, I could have the green facing. Again, there's a bit of a color difference here, so I think I'm going to go with the pink. If you've done color theory at all, red and green are natural complements or opposites on the color wheel, and that gives you the most vibrance. So when you're deciding what colors to use, you also want to think about the energy that that's giving. And so that's going to give us a really, really nice energy. So now I'm going to look at what fun accent I can put on this. And I think we're going to go back to this. So make sure your text is facing the right way. That was almost exciting. And I think we've got this fun slide. So your slides are a little different color, but I do like that slide a lot. So let's measure this. So I'm going to trim it down to about 3.5 because I don't want it overlapping and I don't want to cut it to meet the shape. I want it to just be a layer unto its own here. And again, I want you to look at when you're trimming, you know, have a look at your decorative paper. So I had more text here, so I cut this edge. So if I butt that up, I think I will trim it after. I think I'm going to hang it off. And then I'm going to put my slide. And now we're going to put some fun ephemera pieces on it. There's a great little fern here that's got text on it, so it's mirroring that text effect. I'm just going to encourage it to come out. That's pretty fun. And again, you could center this. I'm going to just, I don't know, I'm going to angle it this way just to create a little more interest. And then so what I want you to see as I'm creating on the fly is that how you turn pieces also creates the story and the energy in your page. So I'm dry fitting this right now. In your kit, you're going to have some really fun. These are from Spellbinders, and I've pre-cut them all for you. So there's some really fun florals in here. So you can play with those florals, mix and match. There's going to be a whole assortment there for you. So for this piece, we're going to start by taking this paper, sticking it down, always building from the bottom up. I'm going to line that up with these dotted lines. It just makes it so easy. So I've actually gone quite a bit over here. So there's not very much to cut away. And then if you turn it over, it makes it really easy to know where your excess is. Now I'm going to take my slide. Again, because I don't know, so I'm just looking to make sure my text is facing the right way. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the bottom. And I will add, and I may actually run that right off. Yep, just like that. Now let's find my little fern and get him down. Go. And this is going to actually run off this side. If you think about reading, we read left to right and top to bottom. So when you're designing pages and creating, I want you to think about, how your eyes move. So here we've got motion in our page. And I could take one of there's a little baby bread here. But I kind of like the idea of spellbinders. Again, you can pick whatever elements you want to have on your page. Oops. I was a bit chintzy on the glue there. Let's give it a little more glue. There we go. And now I'm going to I do have a jewel picker, and if you have one, that does make things easier. Figure out what size is going to go on there. Isn't that fun? There's that side. Flip that over. I think I'm going to leave this one empty, other than there's my little brads. You've all got one of these little brads. Is that what I want there? We'll see. I think I'm going to come back to that one. Not 100% sure where I'm going with that one yet, so let's just leave that one. Let's pull out one of our pocket pages now. And you can see now how it's building up. That 2-inch D-ring looked pretty intimidating at the beginning. And you can see how quickly it's going to fill up, especially as you start to add photos or other memorabilia. So your pocket pages, they're a little bit hard to see because they're all white. It's open on this side. And you've got 2 of these in your kit. So I want you to take the first one. We're going to get the cat hair off that. And we're going to find my ruler. So again, we're going to measure at 6 inches. And yeah, we'll cut a 4 by 6. We're going to cut 2 4x6s here. And now I'm going to pull in this one, which is Staples Paper 5. And it's got a great kind of craft color on the back. And I am going to also use this 1-through-10 journal card, but we're actually going to tuck this inside so that you can write 10 reasons why I love you. Top 10 places we visited if you are remembering some wonderful vacations. Keeping my offcut. Oh, see, as you build, look at how wonderful that looks. So now I'm going to cut 4 inches across this way. So I'm going to put that on the bottom, and the lighter color on the top. So we're using the same paper to create this entire page. And I'm going to ink this one just to give it a bit more dimension. So there's our dry fit. Actually a little bit bigger than 4x6, or I cut it completely wrong. One of the two. Let's just see here. Ah, it's 4 1/4. That's all right. That is what we call a creative opportunity. So I've been looking for a reason to use one of these edges, and look how fun that's going to be. So I'm going to take this one that's got kind of the doily edge. And I am going to have that as my accent piece. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Okay, so clearing my mess, I'm going to take some weathered wood, distress oxide. I'm going to pick up a little bit of ink. Just hitting all my edges. Have a look. Yep, happy with that. Switching to my forest moss, but I think I'm going to just rough it up a little first. And a bit of forest moss on here. And the goal is not to create a background. It's really just to kind of hit the edges and create a bit more dimension in what we've on the edges of the paper. So this is ready to stick down. Again, if you're using a tape runner, it's going to go a little bit faster. I like the option of, if I'm really not happy with where it landed, I can pull it up and start again. From time to time as I'm filming this, my cat comes to visit, and so these random black hairs are a little parting gift from her. Okay, and we're going to follow that edge, build that. Use my brayer. I can see that I even cut that a hair crooked, but it's not going to matter because we're going to play off this. How do I want this to go? I think I want it straight here. So I am going to cut that after. So we're going to put glue just on the border part, not on the decorative part, because again, that's going to overlap. So I'm going to match up. So what you can see, I'll show you where the opening is. Just put my finger there so you can see it. I'm going to match that up right there. Again, it's not a perfect science, so don't stress. And if you wanted, you could even cut it so you still had these two pieces. But I'm going to just run it right across. And then I'm going to cut my excess away. And then I'm going to keep this, and it's going to be a tuck right there. And then I'm going to find what I have. Oh, I like that one. That's a great little journal box. And now I'm looking at my leftover strips. What can I carry through here? At the moment, none of those. But I am going to now go to my laser cut elements. And I've got this beautiful green leaf accent that's going to tie in this green. When you're looking at collections, the beauty is that they are all designed to work together. So the colors will work together for you. And so when you're looking for an element or something to add to it, it makes it a lot easier. have a look at this. No, save that one. Add that. And there was a little flower I cut. This is why, until the project is done, save all those little fussy cutting pieces. Save all those elements. We're going to go into this one. I did have a little Cosmo cut. But it's, oh, there it is. It's run away. But it's smaller than I'd like. So I'm going to go into the mum. I started cutting it. I didn't like where I was going to put it. Remember that if there's kind of a piece in your way and you think, oh, that's going to be too tough to cut, or nobody's going to know it wasn't there. So just cut right through it. So again, I'm twisting my paper. It also prevents your paper from bending, because that's another problem that people have with fussy cutting, and a frustration that they share with me is that, especially with the heavier cardstocks, the decorative papers that the elements are cut on, sometimes that paper bends and they're not super happy with the end result. So always cut in. I'm also not using my favorite fussy cutting scissors. And so when I go back to the other ones, I'll show you why I like the other ones better. There we go. All right. So I started that one. And again, you can pick whatever element you want. I'm going to cut away excess on this, but you can see how that's all going to start to build through our color palette and create interest on our page. Now I'm going to go just a little bit past, yeah, right there. So let's lay it down. So our journal box. So then I'm going to put, I'm not going to center it. I'm going to have it up a bit. And while the glue is still wet, I'm going to have my little foliage piece and get that down. Now I'm going to add this one. I just love that these strips are on here. We can utilize these pieces. And I'm going to leave a space. I'm going to extend it past my journal box here. Then I've got my little chrysanthemum. So I'm going to just tuck it into the corner here. I think I'm going to use my paper trimmer in this case to give me a starting point. Your table's going to be bigger than mine, so you're going to have a little bit more room to play. I'm just moving tools in and out as I'm working. There. Yeah. Liking that a lot. So let's get that down. I'm going to match up that corner. When you're working with something like this as well, if you're not comfortable cutting it, but you are comfortable with an X-Acto knife, this is a great opportunity to just follow this straight edge. If I grab a knife and my self-healing mat, let me find a knife. I can just run it right along the edge there and get a nice sharp finish. Just like that. I lost my little love you list. I'll find it. Oh, there it is. There we go. And again, you could add some nice florals to the corner of that. Again, you know, when I do the walkthrough, you'll get to see what creative inspirations I got as I finished the album. And so flipping this over, again, just use a scrap piece to finish this off. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, so I'm going to just move this here. And then, so to finish off, this is our journal page. This is our pocket. There are 10 things we love about you, or our 10 favorite places. So we're flipping this over. And so for the back, I have our blue collage text script, 4-inch strip. And so I'm just going to eyeball and tear that. I don't want it to run all the way across. So let's see. Yeah. And you're going to go back and you're going to find your journal card. And that's going to go right across it. So we're going to take our scoreboard and we're going to create a flap. So I'm going to turn it upside down and I'm going to score it at a 1/2 inch on both sides. Yeah. That's going to cover that part up. We're not even going to see that when it folds now. I'm going to take my dry adhesive. If I can find it. There it is. And I'm going to run it along that edge. Give me a nice strong bond there. Just move this so that I'm not building on top. Okay, we'll take all these pages away for now. I can actually start. We're at a point. We're going to do the cover of the album last. But we're now at a point where we can start to assemble this. So here's our snapshots. I may pull that back out. I do like this little negative element for that page. We've got this one with the pop-up. That on there. Our circle page with our fold out and our tab. Our full page with our floral accent in our file folder. Our little 1/2 page flip out page. Floral. Our circle. Give that a close up. So you can see how quickly we're starting to fill this. We're about 1/2 full. So I'm just going to close that up and set it aside. Gives me a little more working space. As I've been going, I've been trying to clean up a little bit so I can actually see what I have to work with here. This is going to be the other side. So I'm going to glue this down. There we go. And I'm going to come in from the edge. If you are a measurer, I'm going to say that's probably about 1/2 inch. Yep, close to 3/4. So 1/2 inch to 3/4. Because I want this element to overlay. I've got my tape. So I'm going to line it up with my edge here. It's going to be centered between the 2 holes. And then I'm going to push it down. And then that gives me that flap. Now, if you want, this is a great opportunity to add just a little embellishment to cover that up. So I'm going to just put a little star there. And that is going to take that element away. There we go. It's a great place to write a little story. So that's that side. This side is another full page printed element. Going for the quick win. I took the postage washi tape stamps, ran them down the side. So that creates the consistency from the page we did before. And again, I didn't throw anything out. So I've got all my little elements right here. So this was cut off from a border that we used in a page a little while ago. So I'm just going to glue that to create some interest on the corner and build a little dimension right there. And I actually didn't do anything to it. It's meant to live there, I think. And I know that butterflies love flowers, so we're going to incorporate our friend the butterfly in here and create a little cluster. Now, I'm not going to add these just yet, but I thought this was kind of fun. We've got this and that, which would be great for 2 photos, but I'm just going to set that aside because I don't know what the photos are going to be just yet. But that's a quick 2-pager right there. This one's fun. This reminds me of the spiral notebooks that we used in school, and we'd rip them out. And so we've got this little torn edge of a story waiting to be told. And across from that, I think we're going to do another half page. So for this one, I'm going to bring in our green, and I'm also going to bring in our florals. So earlier I was talking about fussy cutting. So these are my 2 favorite scissors. I've had these Fiskars for a very, very long time. I like that they're spring-loaded, easy to use. I don't even know if they're being made anymore. The one thing I don't like about them, and why I don't use them very often for fussy cutting, is this big, thick edge on them. Because on the heavier decorative paper, it will tend to bend them. So these are Prism, and you can see they're more finely ground. So they go to more of an edge, which makes them a little easier to work with. So I'm going to go back to my paper here, and I'm going to say, what element do I want to feature on this page? So I think I'm going to take these 2 out right here. And I know there are people who really, really enjoy fussy cutting, and there are people who avoid it like crazy. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, but these papers are just so beautiful that, you know, it's a shame not to utilize as much of them as possible. So again, I'm cutting in. When I get to here, I'm creating texture. Now, because this blade is ground more finely, I can actually turn my scissor without bending my paper. So it makes it really fast. But you go at your own speed. And the nice part is too, because of this particular paper, if a little bit of the black is showing, it's not really a concern. It just looks like an outline on the floral. So you really get the advantage of that floral. Then I think I really like the other side of this paper too. So we're going to incorporate the purple because we don't have a ton of purple in this album. There we go. And I'm going to cut up on this side here. It's a really, really fine edge. You can see I just bent the paper a little bit there. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to recut that for myself. But if you become one with fussy cutting, you've just created a lot more ephemera for yourself. especially if you've used part of a piece of decorative paper. I have a stash, as I'm sure you all do, of leftover papers from projects. I have one bin that's all cardstock, and then I have a bin that's all decorative paper, because sometimes you're just looking for that, you know, that little accent, and you're not sure exactly where to go with it. There, so those are really pretty together, and I'm loving this green. And so I think we're going to add a little bit of this purple. So I'm going to cut my excess away here. And let's see how this goes together. Yeah, I really like that. So we're going to go 5 by 6 here. And we've got this great border piece. And I'm just looking, I think I'd like the text to be showing. So I'm going to keep this side of the paper. Yeah, I do like that. Now my florals are going to come off the top of the page here. Then let's look at our offcuts. There we go. I think I'm liking that just the way it is. So let's commit to it and stick it down. Remember, if you're working with your liquid glue, so do as I say, not as I do. I am not putting my pin in between because I'm opening and closing, but your paper or your glue will clog up if you're not putting your pin in it. There, I'm going to use those lines to help me place my element. Again, I'm not going to glue the bottom of my floral down because I want to be able to utilize. See, and I'm just matching it. It just creates that beautiful little line there. I felt like a Bob Ross moment, actually. And I'm just going to put this little happy tree right here. And then this I'm going to put a foam square on. Tuck it. Yeah. And get in under here. And just tuck it down a little bit. Quick and easy. That's a fun one. And now I'm going to take this. Again, I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on either side, but I am going to leave this open so that I can add an image or some memorabilia or something inside. Give that a second to set up. Then I can spin it around, see where I need to take that off. And that one's done. It's always exciting to me when I see a project start to come together and really, in the creative process, things just take on a life of their own, which I think is just so much fun. So I didn't use the purple on here. I like what's going on right now, so I think I'm going to keep that the way it is. And we are going to move on to our half sheet here. For our last full page of the album, we're going to create a Z fold, which is going to give us all kinds of extra room for memories, photos, and a little bit of nostalgia here. So there are 2 pieces of cardstock in your kit. You are going to score them on the line at 1/2 inch. So you can see I've created a flap here. And then I took dry adhesive and I ran it down. And how I put it together is I laid my first one. Here's my score line on my left-hand side. I've laid my paper into it. And then I did the same thing on this side. My score line is on my right side. I've laid my paper into it. I did it flat, opened it up, and pressed it down. And that's going to create our Z fold opening. Now I've also pulled, we're getting down to it. So now I'm kind of, culling through my paper, looking at what I have left over to work with. And I've taken 4 pieces of decorative. You're going to cut them depending on what you have left. So I cut mine at 6 by 8, which is actually a little bit short. They actually run 8.5. So it really just depends on what you want to do. I am just going to center mine in my paper. So I am going to have a top and a bottom. You could do a 1/2 page. You could do whatever you want to do. So I'm going to look now, and I've got my pages across from each other to decide what I want facing each other. So I've also incorporated a page we haven't used yet from one of our starters. It's going to look like this, and I have cut the bottom left-hand corner out of this, and I've roughed up all my edges on all of these. Save this piece. We're going to use it in a little while for the front cover. So I'm going to, and because I was a bit short, and that's okay, I'm going to just center this and, work with it. But you could certainly, go here, right down, and then add an element here. But I am just going to center it. So I'm going to start with this. Again, because I'm watching how my pages are going together, I'm happy having this kind of more muted tone facing my happy little flowers here. So I'm going to stick that down. And you want to just leave a little bit off your edge so that your papers don't catch as you're moving them. So there's page 1. Now I've got page 2 and 3. But before I do 2 and 3, although I think I know which ones are going to be, I'm going to open up 4. And what I'm going to take the blue. Yeah, and that's going to go across from my ink stain. Now, I think I'm going to glue that right to the bottom. And then I'm going to take an element at the top here. Nah, probably just going to center it. I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm going to bring some flowers in. Design is a journey. And it has twists and turns. So as I'm building this, and we're building it together, just make sure your text is facing the right way. As I realized that I cut it just a hair too short, make sure that's going to fold for you. It becomes an opportunity. It's like, okay, well, that happened. How do we manage that? So what I think I'm going to do in that case for this one specifically is I am going to fussy cut an element and put it on the page, just to tie it all in. So there's my first two. Now I open this up. I'm going to have this one right here. And that one right there. Now, just have a look. Because again, measurements can be arbitrary. So you can see that this one probably needs a little 1/8 inch cut. So I'm going to just take a bit off of this. So it doesn't impede the album as I'm building it. Let's see now. Is that going to fold properly? Yeah. So we'll go back and find my sanding block and just take the edge off. Again, you could ink it if you want. Off the white, I'm not necessarily wanting to highlight. I want it to blend in. I like to ink. I always find that I tend to ink more than not. If inking isn't something you really enjoy or you like the look of, then you can certainly not utilize it in your project. Just a hair. Okay, I'm going to grab my brayer. So I want a nice bond here, and just make sure, this is why I'm using a liquid, is just make sure that it's square. There we go. So I had that little bit of opportunity to play with that. And this one's going to be just fine and go right across. Now, as we're getting to the end of it, I'm going to show you at the end where I put the final embellishments, because I took a little bit of time and I pulled out the rest of them as I was getting down to it to see what I still had to work with. Make sure that you're square here. It's going to close properly. Nice. Now, we haven't gone to this page for a little while, but we are going to create a tab here. So I'm going to put it near the bottom. The reason for that is that this page is at the back in my book. I would, if you're not sure how you're going to assemble all the pages, then you may want to wait until the end to put all your tabs on. The best part is these are self-adhesive. So I'm just going to decide where it goes, and I'm going to fold that over. You may want to use a little bit of liquid glue just to make sure that there's a really good strong bond to that. And what's going to happen is in the binder, it's going to open up like that. And you're going to have all this extra space to work with. So I'm just going to set that aside for now, because I can see I'm getting down to the end of my embellishments and I want to decide where they're going to go. Flip that over. We are down to our little half sheet and our last pocket page. So I'm going to just pull those over. I'm going to do the half sheet first. And I've already picked my papers for this. Because again, as you're getting down to it, your decisions are being made for you. Oh, and all right. We're going to change this up. Okay. Let's open this up. I'm going to put the blue on the inside. You're going to get the benefit of all the measurements afterwards. We're going to cut it at 4 inches. I like to go back and check myself. You won't have to do that because all the instructions will be written out for you. But as you can see, I didn't measure those other ones. And so that became a creative opportunity for me. So I'm just going to take that off. And hang on to all those little bits. You may find you want to run them in somewhere. But this actually just centers in there beautifully. Just rough it up a little. There we go. All right, so I'm working from the inside because I know that that is going to be facing. So I want to make sure that whatever I choose is going to be harmonious there. There we go. So that's in. Let's have a look at this. What did I pull as my extra pieces? This is a leftover piece from the new paper that we incorporated, and I do really like that. I think that's really fun. I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to look at some sort of border for this side. So I'm going to give it a sand. Remember that some blocks have the same grit on all 4 sides. This one has different grit. These, the pink and the purple are a lot stronger and will tear the paper more. And I just really want to just scuff my edges. So I like that across from each other. So we're going to stay with that. You can see I've got a little edge there, but now I'm going to go back to my offcuts, and I've got this fun little chrysanthemum here that I'm going to add, but I think I want it to be inked a bit first. So back to my forest moss. My brush has disappeared. There it is. Sometimes you just have to throw it out in the universe and it'll tell you where it is. And I'm just gonna, I just want to take that hard white edge off this. Just want it to blend in with that paper. So you can see the difference. There it is as its own piece, and that's the difference when I just added a little bit of ink to that edge for myself. So I am going to open this up so I can see exactly where my ink is going to, or my glue is going to go. And I'm going to run one on this side, and I'm going to run another little bead here. Just because the paper is thick, so you're going to have that ridge to work with. And then I'm going to match it up. There we go. Cut my excess away. So that will be the facing, which I'm pretty pleased with. So now I'm looking here. I'm going to run this off the top. Oh, I realized. No, I'm going to run it off the bottom. And the reason I'm going to run it off the bottom is another creative opportunity. When I tore this last time, my text was upside down. And so now we're going to have it here, and I'm going to add maybe some ephemera here to tie all my blues together. And I'm going to run right off my bottom edge, and I'm going to center it. I like this because it's creating almost its own collage. And then I need my piece for the back, which we're going to go back to our beautiful citrus green. I didn't use this side because I didn't think it blended well with all the other pieces. But you know what? If you love that floral, I'd say go for it. So I can cut it at 4 inches, which is what I'm pretty sure I cut the other one out. Yep. And we're looking good. A little bit of sanding. I can even just take my dirty brush and just rub it, and then that just takes the really hard white edge away. And I'll get that glued down. There we go. That's going to go there. And we are down to our final piece of the puzzle, except the cover, which will be a lot of fun. That's kind of just the icing on the cake. So we have one pocket page left. You're going to see by now that you're down to the edge of the paper, end of your paper. But you're getting the same amount of paper as I have, so not to worry. Oh, and I forgot about this. We're going to intersperse this. Where did I decide I wanted it? I think I might want it there. And that one can just live like that all on its own. All right, so we have 2 beautiful blues. And that is going to, so I'm going to just give this a quick measure from the edge. So I'm going to cut that at 6. And I'm going to cut it a hair bigger. It's about 4 1/8 if you want to cover the whole thing. So I am going to cover the whole thing in this case. So I'm going to measure it at 4 1/8. But if it was 4, then just decide where you want it to go, right? Just space it appropriately for yourself, and you'll be fine. Yeah, 4 1/8 gives you just a hair here so that it's not butting up against the bottom. And then this one, I'm gonna cut it at 6 as well. Just double check my math. And I kind of like these sides, so I'm gonna flip it over. But again, your project shouldn't look like mine when it's done, right? It should look like yours. This is your creation. And now I'm going to go through my offcuts. Not sure. And see what jumps out has a fun final accent on this page. And I found it. There it is. That's the other side of this text. So that's going to finish it off for us. I'm going to cut it at 6 inches, and then I think I'm going to tear it just to create a little more texture. So I'm going to tear it towards me, and I'm just going to roll my fingers. Go. For this one, I will ink it with a little weathered wood just to take the very, very hard edge off of that. But that's pretty fun. There. All right, let's put this down. Working off my edges. Oh. This one down. Maybe we'll scuff it up a little bit. And remember, if that's not a look that you like and you like the paper just the way it is, it's your project and you are well within your rights to decorate it any way you like. So I'm going to try and come as close to that edge as I can. And you can see I've got just this hair here, and that's where the border is going to go. It almost looks like a piece of ribbon to me. As I put it down, I'm going to lift it so I know that I'm covering that bit of raw edge there. Oh, welcome to spring. And this is a great little journal box. Right there. It's one of the fun parts, but when you get to the end of it, you look and you go, oh, yeah, I used that a while ago. I like that. I'm going to bring that back in. It just ties it all together. And you see, I didn't measure. I can certainly measure and give you the measurements in the instructions. But I've created a flow, and that's what you're looking for. What else we got there? I'm going to take this here embellishment, and I'm going to set it in ½ inch or so from the side. And what this does is it kind of grounds all the black that we've incorporated onto this side. So let's flip this over down to our final page. I'm going to use This is the cream Staples paper. Give that a bit of a scuff. And this is like the last page of a great novel. Woo! Butt it up to that. And now we've still got some great fun borders. So that's why I picked this particular brown, is I'm going to put this fun little border cover that up and create a really nice 3D effect. All right, so before we continue on, I'm going to interleave these pages and then I'm going to see if I like the flow of the album. So I've gone back, got my album. There we go. Really liking that's kind of a fun thing. This I can now, because I'm all done, I can put my pop dot on that. So a couple of foam squares on that. There we go. A little floral shop. Here's our circular page with our pullout. 3D floral. Got a little half page. So, you know, if you want to do your pages in a different order, I just encourage you, have your interactive, you know, smaller pages in between two bigger pages. That's going to keep your album more secure. We've got another half. You could put a tab maybe here, maybe here. This we're going to finish. So I'm going to go into my pocket page here. And my ledger page. I'm going to just put that to the side for a second. Half page and my final pocket page. And I'm loving that stitching element on there. So, again, as part of the design process, I'm looking at it going, I'm not sure that I love that where I had it. So now I'm just going to flip and look to see where it makes sense. There's your Z fold. I kind of like those two across from each other. So let's see, do I like it there? Yeah, maybe I do. So that's where that one's going to go. All right. So now that I've assembled all my pages, we still have our page protectors, and that's a great place to use up your bits of scraps and cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill these up and add the final embellishments. And then, and again, I encourage you to now that you've got these pieces together, flip through, look at what your final elements are. How would you like to incorporate them? What speaks to you? We've got some words left. We've got some really fun stuff. But before you put those final elements in, I have saved some for the cover. So I'm going to finish this and then we're going to work on the cover together and you're going to see what you have left to add to your album. Now it's time to finish our cover. So we've got all our pages in. We'll do a walkthrough at the end so I can show you everything that I did. But there's a few more pieces in your kit that I want you to locate, and we're going to slowly build the cover. And again, it's up to you what elements you use. So I went through and I picked out some of my favorite words on bits of ephemera. I picked out a few hearts. In your laser cut elements, you've got this lovely little awning. So we want that, and we want capture the moments. So go find that out of your kit. This long stitched foliage piece. This is a cutaway from the page that has, this is the leftover bit of it, that has your script and your squares on it, and that is your bottom corner. So I just took that element right off and I fussy cut it out. So that's going to be part of our cover. And then this is what we're going to start on first. I still had a little flower pot left over, some fun little spring daffodils and some foliage. And then I went through and I picked out an assortment. In your kit, you have die cut, variety of die cut flowers, and I pulled a little assortment of those out, and I'm going to show you a really cool technique on that. Also in your kit is the elements to build your frame. And so I've just taken a piece of decorative paper with a lovely small wood grain on it, and you're going to see that that is going to build the base that our awning is going to sit on. But before we do that, I want to just do a bit of inking on it. So I'm going to take my weathered wood, just want it to blend more with what we're already working with here. I'm just softening it just ever so slightly. You could certainly bring forest moss in, or a deep brown like vintage photo or walnut stain. It's really up to you how you build your color palette in this. Just want to give it that little bit more rustic aged look. So that's all I'm going to do with that one. Now I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to take this distress ink. So I'm just going to set this aside for now. Actually, let's build it while I'm here. So you've got two pieces that are your side pieces, and you will have in your kit two pieces like this. Now, because I'm going to slide a photo in after the fact, I'm only going to run glue along my edge right here. And I'm just going to line it up and drop it in. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Builds our two sides, but there's lots of room to do a slide in after the fact. Now I'm going to just put glue on these tabs. Because I'm building it on cardstock, I really didn't have to worry about the tabs. But the way that this is designed is so that it will miter together. There we go. Mine doesn't match. So we're going to pull that up. Try that again. So I'm going to put it on here. I did measure it, but I may have been looking at it sideways. Let's just match that up. There we go. Yeah, I missed by a whole 1/8 of an inch there. But that's all right. Very, very fixable. I could set it aside to dry, but I can probably use my X-Acto knife or my trimmer right now to just clean that edge up. There we go. And that may actually work better for me. Again, if you had a rough edge on it, you could then just hit it with your blending brush again. And just get everything to blend in. You can take a little bit of the forest moss because there's a little bit on my brush here. And just have it match the scene. All right, so we're just going to set that aside for right now. At the end, it's going to look like this. So we've got this big flower in your kit. To me, it reminded me of the flowers that I cut out, that I fussy cut. And so I want it to look a little bit more like that as I use it as a focal point on the cover. So I'm going to take forest moss and I'm going to take a couple other colors in an ink. It can be whatever ink you want it to be. I think I might grab tea dye. And let's see what we've got. Scattered straw. Scattered straw. And faded jeans. I'm going to show you a fun spritz technique. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your ink pad and you're just going to put it right on. You can put it on your cutting mat. I've got a glass mat here, so I'm going to utilize the glass mat. And then I'm going to spritz it, make it wet. So what I've really done is I've created an ink. I'm going to pick it up with a fan brush. And I'm just going to tap it. I need a little more ink. I think I was a little light-handed on that. Put it in a different spot. There we go. There we go. Now I can see it on my brush. So you can use I'm going to use the handle of my knife here. And what I'm trying to do is mirror the splashes that are on this. The wetter your brush is, the bigger your droplets will be. I just want to, my tea dye's a little bit dry. That may not work. Let's see what happens if I give it a spritz. Yeah, it's going to be pretty subtle. So I'm getting some small drops there. Let's try some blue. There we go. My faded jeans is nice and juicy. And I'm going to make it nice and wet. There we go. That's pretty fun. And I'm going to finish with a little bit of forest moss. You can leave your brush dirty because we're just going for an effect here. There we go. All right. I'm just going to grab a wipe and clean up my mat. And you could do this to all your flowers if you wanted. I'm gonna, maybe I should do it to all my light ones here. Let's just lay those out. We won't hit them with all the colors, but we'll just make them a little more consistent. Now I liked that green. It seemed to work really well. A bit of scattered straw. There. All right. Set that aside. You can use a variety of brushes. I like a fan brush simply because I find that after that, it disperses it a little more. It's not a consistent design, right? So you're getting a little more abstract, you're getting a little bit more detail. I'm going to wipe that away so we can keep building. Great. Went for the 3-pointer there, I totally missed it. All right, well, let's start to build now. So one thing that I want you to pay attention to is that the awning is slightly smaller than your frame. And so we're going to build floral elements in there to mask that. But I want you to dry fit and look at, do you like everything on there? If it's too much for you, then don't use it all. But again, I'm looking at creating layers. Some of the elements are going to layer over, some are going to layer under. We're going to go back to that little trick with our flower pot here. And I'm going to glue my stems to my bucket. Just hold that for a second, and that's just going to go in the corner as an accent. Right there. Maybe in a little so that it's hugging over the frame. Now I've got this lovely piece of foliage that I want just coming off the frame. Make sure you're hitting, especially because this is on the cover. Make sure that you're using a fine tip bottle, whether you're using a precision press or something with a fine tip, to make sure that you're catching all of those edges because they're not protected, right? And now I'm just going to decide I want it to go right about there. And just tap it down, let it dry. Awesome, yeah, I'm happy with that. There we go. Okay. Next, I'm going to adhere my big flowers that I fussy cut. Again, I'm making sure I'm getting every petal. I don't want it lifting with handling. And I want to place it actually, no, drop that. I think I'm going to put the frame down. I'm going to commit to where I want the frame to go. Make sure, you would even potentially use a dry adhesive with this. Something that's going to make sure it's not lifting. So I'm centering it in the light green. And it's not centered here. I'm going to come up just a hair. And I may just check my work here, as I don't think that's straight. Now that's straight. And let's look here. Oh, we're almost at 3 inches. And that's not bad. Another tip is just to stand right on top of your work. I like to actually stand when I'm building because I find that, and I'm looking straight down, it's the same view you're currently getting. And I just find that that's helpful to me so that I make sure I place it in the right spot. Now I've worked quickly enough that my glue will still adhere properly. But you'll do it in the right order, so you won't have to worry about that. And now, again, with this awesome border, I'm just going to make sure you catch up higher so that it doesn't lift. I'll glue on my fingers there. There. All right, so I'm going to match it up with this seam. You can go inside the seam, outside the seam. Again, I'm kind of eyeballing, but I am going to play. And again, this is why I'm using a liquid glue, so I can lift that petal. And that petal is going to actually be peeking out over. That one's going to be under. There we go. It's quite a big difference from the rather plain elements that we started with. So now I'm going to look at my ephemera. I'm going to actually, just for visual, I'm going to put this here. So that's going to go there. It's going to be the last thing. I will adhere my sentiment. I'm going to just center it, and I'm just going to have the word capture hang off. But I can't adhere that yet because I'm going to have to put my photo in at the end, right? So you want to make sure that you've left a space for that. And I'm actually going to put it on foam squares so that it sits up, so that you get that dimensional look. So to camouflage the fact that it's just slightly bigger, we're going to glue down some flowers and some ephemera. So I picked out some of my favorite pieces. I like recorded, keeping in mind that I have to make sure that I leave this corner open so I can get my photo in there later. So just give it a little bit of glue on the corner here. Drop it down there. Make sure it's nice and stuck. And then I've got my favorite. Could be your favorite memory, could be your favorite photo. And then I'm going to, so I picked the yellow heart. Use whatever you like. Just tie it all together. And then if you go actually into your little box of die cuts, or bag of die cuts, there's a little leaf right here. I think I might incorporate. I think I'm going to put that like that. And then I'm going to find my tiny little flower. It's going to go on too. So all I'm doing is just creating more and more layers. You've also got, whoa, and hold it till it's dry. You've also got little die cut centers for the flowers, but you can use your Chantilly pearls, which is what I'm going to do. It's being stubborn. All right, fingers it is. That's not the size I want. A little bigger. Yeah. These ones look like a little pearl button to me. So now let's just check that. And you can see now that it's just peeking out behind the awning. And again, as we're designing on the fly, I'm actually going to leave that because you're not going to see it, and I'm going to put it on the awning. Yeah. So on this side, I'm going to create this flower. I want it just peeking out. Again, we're just camouflaging the fact that the frame is just slightly bigger. And you have all these flowers in your kit. I'm going to just give it a little glue underneath. Just hold it in place. All right, so we're going to hold that down for a second. We can still open this side to slide our photo in. And when you're doing this at home, you may want to build your frame with the photo right in. You already know what your focal point is going to be, and so you can certainly work within that, right? Yeah, I like that. So you can see now the awning just blends in to the rest of the elements. Now I'm going to take these flowers. We're going to build a couple of doubles here on this side. Start with the darkest. Put that there. Start with the darkest in this grouping. Put that there. Find a couple of pearls. And I'll go down one size, the next size down. There we go. And I am going to find some leaves to go in here. I think that little sprig's going to work really, really well. So let's go back. I'm going to put my foam squares along the top here. I'm not going to adhere it down, but it just then gives me a visual to work from so I can see how I want to build the rest of it. And again, when you're doing this project on your own, you may already know what photo you're putting in there. But now I can actually, I can actually see what it's going to look like and where I want it to sit. Helps you to visualize how you want it to come together. Which is all part of the creative process. Maybe I want that like that. Not loving the green, so I'm actually probably not going to use it at all. But I do need another little element here. So let's go back. Let's say do 2 elements here. Let's do the 2 elements here with a leaf. Yep. There. I'm liking that. Typically you want groupings of odd numbers. So in this case, we've got a grouping of 3. We're making a little triangle, a little design triangle. And I think that we haven't used a lot of our little stars, so maybe we'll just incorporate some little stars here. And I'm pulling out the colors from my flowers just for consistency. There. So here I've got my grouping of 3, here I've got my grouping of 3, and so we can now adhere this down. Start with my leaf. You could ink your leaf if you so desire. Oh, I forgot about my little baby flower. To find a spot for that one. I'm just going to hang on to that. Do we want it to go here? Maybe we do. Little Parisian flower shop. I'm going to put some glue here. This is when the left-handed person who can use her right hand tests her ability. I'm actually going to tuck it there. Give me a little more glue there. Make sure you're generous with the glue as you're building. There we go. And now we're going to add these last 3 elements. And once you've built the frame and the awning, it's really up to you how you embellish it, right? Like what, you know, do you want it more floral? Do you want it more foliage based? Like what do you enjoy? I'm freehanding it today. I probably would be more likely to use my reverse tweezers, but I didn't have them on the table as I was working, so we've just moved past it. But I do like my reverse tweezers in times like this to build the clusters. It just makes it a little easier. There we go. So now you can see what the cover is going to look like. Again, I'm not going to adhere mine down because I don't know what photo I'm putting in there yet. I just want to make sure that the base is covering this little miter hinge tab. But there we go. So this is our lovely floral shop album. We're going to go and we're going to do a whole album walkthrough as a review, and then you can rewind and come back and have a look at different elements. I didn't use this one, but I think I'm going to find a great spot. You can see how it's all spread out, and you know, it's kind of mirrored that look. And so depending on if you wanted more pink in here, you could have hit more, and that'll make it look a little bit more like that. So I hope you've enjoyed it. We are going to do the last final walkthrough. I've still got some embellishments, so there's always a point where you go, I don't know if it's finished. So it's very close to finished. I may save some of my elements for once I put my photos in and start working from there. So I hope you enjoyed it. Certainly reach out to me at the store if you have any questions, and enjoy.